All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, who the media likes plays so much into who they decide is going to win many of these accolades. And it's very obvious, as Kevin Durant himself stated prior to this current NBA season, that he's never going to win any regular season accolades ever again. And just to supplement that, the media has been trying to basically cast him off from not only not being the number one player in the NBA, now they've taken it to the extent that they're not going to consider him one of the top 5 players in the NBA. And they're fishing as hard as they can to find other players that they can deem to be better than him. Now, there are other players across the league that I would deem to have more MVP credibility than Kevin Durant. But to say that they're better than him, per se, can I put Giannis above him yet, or Joel Embiid, or even Kawhi? No, I cannot put any of those guys above Kevin Durant. Not right now. But anyway, there is someone, or a few people in the mainstream liberal sports media who have decided that they are going to try to cast Kevin Durant aside. One of them being Mr. Max Kellerman, who has decided that he's going to state that Kevin Durant is not only not the number one player in the NBA. We all know that Max Kellerman's favorite player is LeBron, but that Kevin Durant is not even one of the top 5 players in the NBA. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Well, the stars were on display last night. LeBron, Steph, Kawhi, Cat, PG-13, the Beal Deal, and Jimmy Buckets all scored at least 35 points last night, which ties an NBA record. Now, according to William Hill, here are the most updated odds to win the MVP. Giannis with the best odds at 5-2, followed by Anthony Davis, LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kawhi Leonard.
Now, this list is very interesting. It's amazing to me that James Harden is 11-1. Look at that. James Harden, playing on a losing team, is above Kevin Durant. That shows you that there is an agenda afoot to try to jettison Kevin Durant from being considered amongst the elite players in the NBA for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Maybe there's something that he's not doing, or maybe because he's become so transparent and so honest in how he's starting to disregard who the media likes and what they think, that they're trying to screw him back over. I'm already on record as stating that as of right now, my top 3 MVP candidates will be listed on this list as numbers 3 to 5, that being LeBron, Stephen Curry, and Kawhi Leonard. I have no idea how Anthony Davis could be 4-1 with his team hovering around 500. Now, Giannis, of course, also I would consider right there as well, even though I think that it's going to be a very long season. And I do believe that based off of what I've seen from Milwaukee, that slowly they're going to start to creep back towards the pack. And I think that they're going to finish around 4th in the Eastern Conference, maybe even lower than that. There's no way that I could have James Harden on this list, though. I would replace him with Blake Griffin.
Leonard, Kevin Durant with the 8th best odds at 14-1. Max Kellerman?
Yep.
Is Durant a lock top 5 player?
No.
In the NBA?
No, in fact, I put him 5, and he's fighting for that 5th spot.
Yo, Max Kellerman be saying some of the silliest shit, and he said it with a straight face, boy. Even Molly Karen looking at him like, you stupid son of a bitch. Kevin Durant's not only in the top 5, he's 1A. And there are many who will consider him the number 1 player in the league right now. I can't quite put him number 1. I'm on record as saying why. It's because, in my view, he's never certifiably been the leader of a team. He's never been the alpha on a team. Now, that might change next season. And I think that should he leave Golden State and join them with another team and become the unadulterated alpha, say he goes to the Clippers, averages 37-7, and the Clippers win 60 games, they are going to give him the MVP award.
Now, for anyone who knows, that's a hot take. I get it, because you're like, how could that be? It's just
hot take equals dumb take sometimes. That's why I tell brothers this is not a hot take channel.
Disrespectful for KD. KD, I mean no disrespect. You're
you know I said top 5 player
top
in
5.
the NBA.
I'm not going to focus on whether or not it's disrespectful for KD. If you do have him, lock top 5, let me tell you who you're being disrespectful to. LeBron James is number 1. Let's put that to bed. We all know that's true.
Well, we know that LeBron James is either number 1 or number 2. Next.
True. 2, when healthy, Kawhi Leonard is the 2nd best player in basketball.
I love Kawhi, but he has not done enough to definitely put him number 2 in the NBA. He's on his way to having one of the better seasons of anybody in the NBA. I think that if he were to win the MVP this season, he would not close that out until probably the last week of the season. because LeBron and Steph are going to be right there all the way through, assuming that Steph does not get hurt.
I thought that going into the season. I thought that when last seen, he's been the best player on a championship team. Didn't have to go join a super team. Didn't play with the greatest collection of talent ever seen anywhere in order to get there. His team is 21-5. They have the best record in basketball. He's clearly the best player on it. You just saw last night what he can do.
Right, but you're making more of a case for him being MVP this year rather than is he a top 5 NBA player, Max Kellerman. I think that when you make those type of estimations, you have to look at how long a certain player has been consistently great. I mean, people forget Kevin Durant came into the NBA in the 2007-2008 season. This is his 12th year in the league. Look up his stats, man. They're unbelievable. I mean, from the very beginning, he was averaging over 20 a game from his first year. And from his second year, I think his second year, he averaged something like 27 a game. And he's been doing that basically since then for the last 11 years. What he's doing right now as a scorer, there are only about 2 or 3 other guys in the history of the league that have ever done what he's doing. And in regards to being proficient from the perimeter, it's really only him and Jordan.
He can do as a two-way player. His offense is not quite KD, though it's fantastic. And his defense is really what makes him special. I got Kawhi, too. Or do you want to disrespect Kawhi and say, no, he shouldn't be in the conversation?
He should be in the conversation, just not above KD. Not yet. Kawhi's only had like 3 good seasons.
Okay, 3. Anthony Davis. Do you know what Anthony Davis is doing right now? Right now, AD, who I predicted by the end of the season be the best player in basketball, 28 points, 12.5 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks, shooting 36% from 3, a great defensive player, leading the league in minutes per game.
Right, and how long will that last? Because we know that AD has been relatively fragile. And see, the thing with Anthony Davis, to me, is that he pretty much gets equaled out by Joel Embiid, who's pretty much putting up the same numbers, around that. And also in regards to AD, he has to lead his team deep into the playoffs. Kevin Durant led the OKC Thunder to the finals back in 2012. He led them to multiple conference finals appearances. And of course, he was the best player in the finals the last 2 years. So how could you put AD above him? I mean, that really makes no sense.
That's Anthony Davis. So you want to disrespect AD? No, it's definitely KD, not AD. Wrong. Giannis, the Greek freak.
Giannis has become everybody's favorite hot take. Giannis is tremendous. He is. He's having an unbelievable year. He's probably having a better all-around season than KD. Maybe by the start of next season, I'd be willing to consider Giannis as a top 4 player in the league, top 3 player in the league. Consider him. But it depends on what he's able to do in the playoffs this year. He has to win at least the first round. Really, for me to consider Giannis a top 3 player or top 4 player, just to consider him, he'd have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Is considered by some right now to be having the best season in the NBA.
Well, he's considered by many to be having the best season in the NBA. That's why they have him as the current favorite to win the MVP award.
I'll give you his numbers real quick. 27, 13, and 6 on the season with a steal and a half and almost a block and a half a game.
Yeah, he's a dog.
Second best player on his team is a very nice player, a kind of bubble all-star in Chris Middleton. He's 16 and 7. Kevin Durant's team, who feature way more all-stars than obviously Giannis's team, is 17 and 9. That's a worse record winning percentage.
Right, but here's the problem with that, Max Kellerman. It's very difficult for me to accept it as a serious point when you try to use Kevin Durant's teammates as a negative or a detriment to him, when once again he's basically been doing the same thing for the last 11 seasons. Once again, look up Kevin Durant's numbers. The most amazing thing about his offensive production is the proficiency. This dude has shot over 50% really for like the last 7 or 8 years. The majority of them playing street ball, playing playground basketball with Russell Westbrook in OKC.
Wise, if you can't quickly do the math. And KD's playing with much better players. So 4 guys I'm putting ahead of KD right now is LeBron, Kawhi, AD, and the Greek freak. You go ahead and disrespect one of them if you're saying definitely KD's ahead of any one of those guys.
Yes, KD's definitely ahead of all of them except for LeBron.
Now 5th,
and that's not even, really the guy that you disrespected the most is Stephen Curry.
And finally, and I'm putting this is where the battle is waged. KD or Steph? I give the nod to KD because in the playoffs, I think he can be more effective because he's bigger, he's faster. There are fewer things you can do to stop him. But during the regular season, without Steph, they're barely keeping their heads above water. With Steph, they're crushing everyone in sight. You take KD off, Steph is just fine. The Warriors don't miss a beat. You take Steph off, they're a kind of an ordinary-ish team.
Well, Max Kellerman, listen to what you're saying. You said if you take KD off, the Warriors don't miss a beat. Well, not missing a beat for the Warriors is winning 65 games a season and making NBA Finals appearances. So if that's the case, how come you have Steph Curry at 5A when you should have him at 2A?
So who's the better player? That's actually open for debate.
I agree with you, but not at 5A, at 2A.
I got KD 5 and fighting Steph for that 5th slot. Again, disrespect one of the guys I just brought up, Stephen A.
You know, we have bosses that oversee this show.
Yeah, lots of them.
Obviously, we're number one, and so we're number one in the morning. So I would respectfully like to ask Dave.
They love bragging about how they're number one in the morning. I mean, really, how many homes have ESPN compared to Fox Sports 1? ESPN is in far more homes than Fox Sports 1, so it's really nothing to brag about.
Dave Roberts, Norby Williamson, Connor Shell, Jimmy Pitaro, and those guys. Can I please have the rest of the week off so I don't have to look at you? That is just the most asinine thing that I've ever heard in my damn life. Kevin Durant, not a top 5 player in the NBA. Why do I even have to talk to you about basketball?
I agree with you, sir. I mean, that's just completely asinine. Kevin Durant's not a top 5 player in the NBA. Come on.
Well, why do I even have to listen to you? Why am I subjected to the dribble coming out?
I mean, honestly, all we have to do is watch how Kevin Durant performed against the New Orleans Pelicans in last year's, I believe, second-round matchup to see who's the better player. AD is great. He was the person who I picked to win this season's MVP, with Steph Curry as a dark horse. But he has a long way to go and a lot to prove to verify that he should be considered the 3rd or 4th best player in the NBA. Like, he has a ways to go for that. And my parameters are always very consistent. You have to show me not only that you can perform in the regular season, but that you can be impactful in the postseason. That's why I'm holding Giannis to the same standard. Like, for me to say there's a debate over whether or not Giannis is a top 3 or 4 player, he has to take his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. You can't go to the playoffs and then lose in the first round. For example, if Milwaukee's the 4th seed or the 5th seed, and they're going against the Detroit Pistons and Blake Griffin, Giannis has to dominate that matchup. And his team has to win in that first round matchup. Bottom line, if Milwaukee plays Detroit in the first round and they lose in 7 games, I don't give a damn if the 7th game was a triple overtime classic. If Blake Griffin and the Detroit Pistons are victorious, I don't want to hear nothing about Giannis being a top 5 player in the NBA. I just don't want to hear it.
But out of your mouth, Kevin Durant. We bring up numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just because he's struggling, Molly. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know if you've noticed that he's struggling, particularly without the services of a Steph Curry and all that stuff. Kevin Durant is averaging 29.8 points, 7.3 rebounds, 6.3 assists. He's shooting 52% from the field. A bad 34% from three-point range because we all know that's going to get better. Oh, by the way, 91% from the free throw line. And I love how Max talks about how, well, you know what, this year he's playing with a better team. Did you know that Kevin Durant is a near-career 28-point-per-game scorer?
Thank you, sir. 12 years into his career.
Throughout his career, many years he was in Oklahoma City, and this is what he was averaging. This is not new. This is not an epiphany. This is not something that happened because he's with Steph Curry.
Thank you, sir. What joining the Golden State Warriors has done is take Kevin Durant from being a person who shot 50% from the field in OKC to somebody who's now going to shoot 55%. That's all it's done.
And he's with Klay Thompson. Kevin Durant, numbers-wise, offensive-wise, has been doing this. Defensively, Max Kellerman, not me. Max Kellerman talked about, man, has he really stepped up defensively. Man, has he really become a great defensive player, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to say to you is offensively, these guys, can they do what he can do? The Greek Freak can't shoot like Kevin Durant can. Anthony Davis, whatever. See, like I told you, I'll shut up. I'll give you the floor.
That's when you know when somebody knows that they really have no real empirical data or proof. They just keep making the same declarative, baseless statement over and over and over again. It's like these dudes who come in the comments and, you know, they give their opinion and then they end the comment with facts. No, it's not facts. That's your feelings. But you want to end it by saying facts to try to give it some level of authority that it doesn't have. That's what Max Kellerman is doing right now. The Greek Freak is better than Kevin Durant.
Floor, I'll leave.
He's trying to use the Jedi mind trick on Stephen A. Smith.
I will gladly take the rest of the way. I'm tired. I'm tired. Excuse me, LeBron. Excuse me. I'm going to give the love to LeBron because he's a champion.
Okay, so now KD's in two. AD or KD?
Excuse me. I just said Kevin Durant. I've been saying Kevin Durant for years. The bottom line is
because the average for his career.
Excuse me. No. I did not bring up averages for but 1 second. What I talked about is the game that he brings to the table. These guys are not the long-range snipers that he's been. If this were back, I let you talk. Zip it. The fact is,
shut his ass up.
In the 80s, if this were the 80s and the three-point shot didn't matter as much, I got you. It matters a lot in today's game. Kevin Durant, excuse me, if you look at this.
You can't compare who's shooting a three better percentage-wise because KD is taking far more threes per game than AD.
The system and the way this goes down, you can have guys that are sitting up there outside every now and then they're taking. The bottom line is Kevin Durant is a better pure shooter than Kawhi. He's a better pure shooter than AD. The Greek Freak ain't even a part of the discussion.
I agree. I agree when it comes to that. And I like the Greek Freak. He'd probably be a top 7 player for me. I mean, right now, and I give my list all the time. Number 1 is LeBron. Number 2 is KD. Number 3 is Steph. Number 4 is Kawhi. Number 5 is AD. Number 6, I'll probably have Giannis, and then 7 James Harden. Or maybe 6 James Harden, 7 Giannis. But I can't put Giannis in my top 3 or 4 or 5 until he makes a deep run into the playoffs. He has to get to the conference finals for me to consider him as a top 5 player. Then maybe the conversation would come down to Giannis or AD as a top 5 player, depending on how far AD is able to take the Pelicans. But the Pelicans, they have to get out of the first round this year for AD to maintain his spot.
The only reason Steph Curry's in the conversation is because he's the greatest shooter we've ever seen. Not that those other things. I'm not changing the subject. We don't know what.
You know, these guys, they're so disrespectful to Steph Curry. They talk about him like he's Steve Kerr. Oh, Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters ever. That's the only reason why he's in the conversation. No, dude, Steph Curry's in the conversation because he's one of the greatest players ever. He's one of the most impactful offensive players ever. He's not just somebody who stands outside and waits for somebody else to pass him the ball. He has an ethereal level of handle. He can pull up from anywhere. He can create shots off the dribble. He's one of the most proficient penetrators and scorers at the cup in the history of the NBA from the guard position. That's why he deserves to be where he's at. He's a 2-time regular season MVP award winner. And to be quite frank with you, he was robbed. And one can certainly make the case that he's been robbed more than once for the NBA Finals MVP. Because there's an outside case that you can make for him that he should have been the MVP for last year's finals. But Kevin Durant's dominant Game 3 pretty much, took the cake. But in 2015, Steph should have been the NBA Finals MVP.
What the subject is, because the fact of the matter is I'll let you talk. I didn't say a word. Not a word. I actually sat here and listened to your flagrant ignorance.
There you go, Steve. Detonate on him.
The reality is Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant not a top 5 player. Kevin Durant not.
Yeah, that's blasphemous. Say it, Stephen A. That's blasphemous.
You can yell that from the mouth.
I apologize.
Let's go.
Hold on. I'm whispering. Kevin Durant's not a top 5. I just finished doing it.
Yeah, Steve, y'all should really debate it player by player. Just so that you can show him, presuming that you can show him that Kevin Durant is better than all those guys that he named player by player other than LeBron.
Oh, player by player. I'm having such a good time.
Anthony Davis right now is a better defensive player than KD, though I'm not going to act
like he's not a better offensive player than KD.
KD is close. KD's a great defensive player. AD's better.
Right, but we also have to understand that the New Orleans Pelicans run a different system. Their offensive system is totally centered around getting AD the basketball. So you can't compare that to the offensive numbers that Kevin Durant puts up. Plus, AD's always going to have more rebounds and blocks because of where he's located in the paint.
Offensively, right now, actually, AD is a more valuable, slightly, again it's close, offensive player than KD has been so far this year. He's also a lot younger than KD. So the idea...
Right, but why are you factoring that in? It's about what they're doing right now because we're evaluating them right now, Max Kellerman. It's not a prognostication. The question is now who's going to be a better player 3 years from now?
Yeah, that KD has certain career averages. We're talking about right now. Right now. Actually, AD's shooting the three better. Actually, AD's team has a better record, and he's on a worse team. Or, excuse me, has a comparable record, and he's on a worse team. Actually, AD has more points, more rebounds. These are the kind of counting numbers that you like. His PERs among... I think he's leading the league in PRs. I mean,
well, AD is always going to be a PER monster because of how much he has the basketball in his hands. Once again, Kevin Durant plays in a system where he's not necessarily going to lead the league in PER. Steph Curry is more likely to be a PER beast than Kevin Durant because the whole system is predicated on Steph Curry being successful and what he does.
PR, and he's averaging more minutes per game. So
anybody have a pillow?
AD is better than
I actually do have a pillow right here because I'm having back spasms.
Is there a place that I can
So
go at and take a
LeBron
nap?
is one.
Can I use take a nap? Take a nap and kick my feet up or something?
Here,
I wish I could just put it right there.
You should go on the
Put it right back there for me,
countdown
please.
set and say that.
Put it right back there for me,
Have all
I'll
please.
go
the
on the
guys.
countdown set
You
and say...
should do this with Paul and Jalen and Chauncey, all of them.
I'll go anywhere, and I'll go on the countdown set and say...
AD's in my top five.
Giannis is having a better season. It's not like anyone's blowing KD out. KD's right there. Giannis is having a better season than KD. He's a little more valuable.
Once again, Giannis Antetokounmpo is playing on a team and in a system that is centered around getting him the ball. He's the hub of their team. KD is not the hub of Golden State. Max Kellerman is trying to compare apples to oranges.
More valuable so far than KD, which is why his team has a better record in spite of him being on a worse team.
He's still talking.
That's three.
He always keeps talking. Go ahead.
Kawhi is healthy, and he just showed last night, in my opinion. And statistically, he's right there.
Yeah.
He's the second best player in basketball.
Kawhi Leonard is not a better offensive player than Kevin
But
Durant.
we're not going to offensive overall.
Do you just think KD?
Well, you just said that Kevin Durant was a great defensive player.
is.
All right then.
But Kawhi's
Hey,
a great offensive player.
Kawhi Leonard is not the offensive player
And
that Kevin Durant
KD's
is.
not the defensive player
Excuse
Kawhi
me,
is.
you said they both great. So what's levels to greatness now?
Well, actually, yes, there are levels to greatness, Stephen A. Smith, and you know that. That comparison between KD and Kawhi is closer to me than the comparison between AD and KD. I just think that because of what Kawhi brings to the table in regards to the idiosyncrasies, you know, he understands how to win better than AD does. And AD, to me, is always in danger of folding up in big games because his body is just so fragile. We know that Kawhi has had his share of injuries in the past, the ankle, the quad. But I just don't see him folding up. I think that he also just wanted to get the hell up out of San Antonio after a while. But that comparison is closer. That's why I have Kawhi at 4. But after LeBron, from LeBron to Kawhi, it's very close. It's very close. Because I have KD as 1A to LeBron. And you can make the case that Steph is 1B. And then maybe Kawhi is 2. That's how slim I think the difference is, or the differences are, between those top 3 players in regards to what they bring to the table, their impact, at least in the regular season.
Is Kawhi a great offensive player?
I think he's a really good offensive
Oh, he's
player.
just really good. He's not a good...
No, he's great, Steve. Give that man credit. He's shown this season that he's a great offensive player.
I don't think he's great.
What? So he's shooting 43%.
I don't care.
No,
I don't care. I watch. I don't. If I had to choose an offensive player,
completely dissociated from reality.
Listen, like I said, I listened to you. We don't. I mean, I'm the basketball guy, and everybody. You are very evidently trying to convince everybody you are. I sat there and I listened to you. At the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, if I had to pick an offensive player, the only person that I might pick ahead of KD based on your list is Anthony Davis. Maybe.
You are changing the subject.
Nobody else.
Hold
No,
on.
I'm just saying his boots are nice.
Hold on. You just said that
No, I was just
they're
bringing up the
both
category.
great, and there's no differentiation among the great.
No, I did not say that. I did not say
That's
that.
what we're doing.
No,
We're
I did not say
differentiating
that.
among the
I
great.
asked you to explain it. I did not say that there's no difference.
You just said,
I said
now
you
we're
just said they're both
differentiating
great.
among the- yeah.
Explain the difference. But
The
you kept
difference-
going on.
Well,
I did not
KD
say
is
that there was a level
KD
to
is
it.
great.
Stephen A. Smith, brother, you're not arguing your points very well. All we have to do is address many of Max Kellerman's assertions based off of his primary use, almost his exclusive use of numbers. And we can't just do that. We have to address the different systems that they play in, what's asked of them in those systems. So I understand that Steve is trying to use the eye test, but he has to expound on that. He just can't lean back and get frustrated by Kellerman, because Kellerman is a stat geek. He does not really have a soul for the game. He just has a mind for the game. But once again, it's very obvious that this is not a debate that Stephen A. Smith is going to be able to have a victory in, because he's not quite sure how to counterattack what Max Kellerman is saying. AD is great, but if AD was so impactful, last year would not have been the first year that he got out of the first round. That's the bottom line of that to me. Giannis, as great a season as he's having, he's never been out of the first round. So obviously what they do is not translating to success in the playoffs. The fact of the matter is that Steph Curry was able to get to 2 finals in a row as the primary option, the best player on the team. Before Kevin Durant got there, he was able to get past AD. He was able to get past James Harden. He was able to get past Mike Conley and Zach Randolph the first year. Next year, he was able to get past James Harden again, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook. That's who Steph Curry has been proven to be able to get beyond in the playoffs. For someone who, supposedly always comes up small in the playoffs. This is how we have to differentiate between the great players, since Max Kellerman's point is that we have to assess the levels of greatness. Yes, we do. But we can't just do that by looking at numbers on a piece of paper, because we have to say to ourselves, well, what is asked of these various players? Giannis cannot be above Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been to multiple Western Conference finals, multiple finals. He's shown that what he does can impact a team in the biggest moments, both for his team and against his opponent. Giannis has not done that yet, nor has AD.
Greater offensive player than Kawhi by a little. Kawhi is a greater defensive player than KD by a little. Overall, KD is right there with Kawhi. Kawhi's a little above.
So a career 28, 29 point per game scorer that has been doing it throughout.
Yes, Max Kellerman career. I mean, we have to take that into account. When somebody's been doing something for 11 straight years, and Kawhi basically is going into his 3rd, maybe 4th year of being a very good offensive player, I mean, we can't compare them offensively. This is, I would say, the 2nd year that Kawhi has shown that we can consider him a borderline great offensive player. He's mostly been known for his defense. We know that his defense is exemplary. Kevin Durant has played exemplary defense as well, particularly in his 2.5 years with Golden State, or 2 years and change for Golden State. We know what he can do offensively. What Kevin Durant has done offensively, once again, is historic. When we look at the history of the NBA, and we're talking about perimeter players, when we combine not just the quantitative value of what he's done stat-wise with the amount of points per game, but also proficiency in regards to his shooting percentages, there's only one other player that we would say is right there with him, and that's Jordan. Kobe Bryant was not proficient. He was a 44% shooter. LeBron James is right there around that 27.5 point per game area, as is Allen Iverson. LeBron has the proficiency, but we know he gets a lot of his baskets at the rim, at the cup. Now, Allen Iverson was averaging 27 a game, but he was shooting about 40% from the field. So once again, when we're talking about what Kevin Durant has done offensively, it's really only him and Jordan that combine the numbers as well as the proficiency. So, of course, it's well within Stephen A. Smith's rights to talk about what he's done over the course of his career.
Throughout his career, has been showcasing his greatness that stands here today as the reigning 2-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, the Greek freak who was shooting 11% from three-point range, Kawhi Leonard.
And that's going to show in the playoffs. That's going to show in the playoffs when teams start to pack the paint on the Greek freak. That's what I mean when I say you just can't throw him in there in the top 3 and this dude has not shown that what he does translates well into the playoffs. He has not shown that yet.
Who just a couple of years ago became relevant
right now.
Right now. I'm saying, you can talk about preferences, and I get that. If you said it was a preference, that's fine. But to sit here and definitively say Kevin Durant is not a top 5 player
you see how often,
the world.
I want to show everybody, these are the argumentative techniques. Number one, you go to career. We're talking about right now.
Right, but even if we're talking about right now, Kevin Durant is a better offensive player than Kawhi. He just is. He's better overall in points per game. He's better overall in proficiency. at least overall shooting percentage. Now, in regards to three-point percentage, Kawhi is better. But, like, don't try to act like, or, Stephen A. Smith is trying to compare, a player on his last legs to Kawhi by saying, well, he's been better over the course of his career. No. Kevin Durant's still in his prime in regards to being an offensive sensation.
Nobody's interested in you right now because you're trying to bring an argumentative technique. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Number two, you say we really shouldn't look at levels of greatness, which is exactly what we're doing.
Actually, you did say that, Stephen A. Smith. Just be quiet.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Yes, you did say that, bro. You said, so now we're going into levels of greatness? You did say that.
They're both great.
No, I said you said they're both great, so explain the difference. I did not say there was a level of greatness.
Yes, you did, sir.
I always say that. You're Mr. Mediocrity.
So who's a better defensive player, Kawhi or KD?
I think Kawhi.
Right.
But listen, but what I'm saying to you is, I look at KD as a great defensive player and the greatness of him offensively, and I don't think that KD not a top 5 player. KD.
Well, right. See, that's the final thing. You're getting caught up in where he ranks as though it's disrespectful
to him.
But
that was the subject,
Why?
Max.
And the reason you find it disrespectful to him is because of everything he's accomplished over his career.
No,
I'm talking about...
How about what I'm seeing him do right now?
Okay, so you're being disrespectful to the Greek Freak or Kawhi or AD.
No, sir. How could he be being disrespectful to the Greek Freak when the Greek Freak has done nothing in the playoffs? It's amazing to me that Stephen A. Smith has not utilized that aspect of this conversation. I'm sorry, but you can't be a top 3, top 4, top 2 player in the NBA and you've never done shit in the playoffs. Anthony Davis just broke through last year. That's why I gave him some credit after last season, because he's finally broke through. That's why I put him above James Harden, because I think that what Anthony Davis brings to the table overall is more impactful than a James Harden. But Anthony Davis has never done anything in the playoffs. James Harden has had some long playoff runs.
AD or LeBron or maybe Steph. Why is it okay to disrespect them?
Excuse me, not LeBron, but everybody else.
It's okay to disrespect them.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think if you ask them, they will concede. No. Kevin Durant is all world.
You're talking about he is all world, but he's not top 4, and he might not be top 5.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Who should I send my hearing bill to? Because I lost them.
Okay, let me tell you something. You can send it to Max, because I'm telling you, y'all think I'm playing.
No,
I am going to have for the rest of the week off. I should not be. I
subjected to
I should not be. I should not have to be subjected to blasphemy.
It's like
about the NBA. I shouldn't have to be.
State athletic commissions are like this in boxing. If you get knocked out, you need a certain amount of time off.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith, you gonna let him talk shit about you like that?
Before you're allowed to come back. Concussion protocol. I sent you into concussion protocol.
Please, I'm constantly sleeping and snoring.
Yes, you.
KO. You ain't even on this level.
KO.
The fact that, are you kidding me? Top 5.
All right.
Top 5.
Well, Stephen A. Smith, he actually said that KD is in his top 5. It's just that he's holding on. Your problem is that he does not have KD number 2. But you did not argue your points very well, bro. To me, it's easy to prove that KD is more impactful than AD or Giannis. All we have to do is translate what they've been able to do in the regular season into the postseason. And what KD does has been far more transferable into the postseason than what AD or Giannis have done. That's the bottom line. And Giannis, for years, has played in a weaker Eastern Conference. Never gotten out of the first round. So
KD, I know.
Guys, it was
top
fun.
5?
Maybe top 5. 5th.
I need a breather. Let's take a break.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how things go over the course of this season. So peace.